Hey, it's Ross and Rayong, and today I am doing a follow-up video of a video I did for DoMoreLife YouTube channel 3 years ago. It was the first video I ever made, and it was talking about the exact amount it takes to live in Thailand. And while it wasn't the exact amount, it was really a formula on how much you should have saved. And so the idea was to maintain the lifestyle that you currently have and move to a foreign country and maintain that lifestyle and how much you should have based on how much it costs to live in that country. And you would not believe the comments I received on this video. Everything from, you have no idea what you're talking about, where the hell did you come up with those numbers? Other people, I can live on less than $1,000 a month. Even others said, I can live for $500 a month. And those were just the nicer ones. There were really some really mean comments. And maybe I didn't do the best of explaining my cost and where these numbers came from. And, that's okay. So, I'm going to give a clear what my expenses are, how I came up with those numbers. And again, I will give you the formula that you can base how much you should have saved if you have no more income that will ever be coming in, how much you should have saved. And as you can see, I am a thrifty person as well, because here I am with my sleeping shirt with, this is the air-conditioned shirt because it has a hole in it. And I'm advertising Maker's Mark today. Not a sponsor, just an old shirt. It's really comfortable though. I'm 54. I still have all my hair. Thank you very much. And I have been living in Thailand for 7 years now. Prior to living in Thailand, I lived in Los Angeles, California for 7 years and Chicago for 4. And for the last 30 years of my life, other than this house, I've never been in any single address for more than 5 years. Really been in nomad of places. For the last 15 years of my life, both living in the USA and Thailand, I've maintained a 6-figure income. Even moving here to Thailand, with my business ventures, I still have maintained that income. And in the 7 years since living in Thailand, I built a very large house, which you can see on a video right here on my channel. I built a small resort. You can see a video about that right here. I purchased 2 cars, 1 truck, and 4 motorcycles. I have a video about how we bought our car, the last one, right here. But because I've had a very good passive income, I have still been able to increase my savings. So when I was planning my retirement to Thailand, I was not have to worry about how much money do I have, because I knew I always had a passive income coming in. But it was still a very good way to think about how much money with my passive income will I need over that same time period. Since moving to Thailand, I have had to now pick up the support of 2 children, 18 dogs, and I really wanted to maintain the lifestyle that we had in Los Angeles, where we lived in a single-family home with a nice fenced-in yard. And something that I owned, was paying a mortgage on. So, knowing a little bit about that background, let's talk about your cost of living here and how I come up with these numbers. In Thailand, your biggest monthly expense, that would be the single biggest check you'd ever write, is going to be your rent or your mortgage. And this is where your lifestyle comes in. If you've lived in a small apartment most of your life, then moving to one here will feel right at home, and you can get yourself a very nice small apartment and spend maybe $200 to $400 a month. I came from a 1,500 square foot home, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and I wasn't willing to move into a small apartment or have shared walls. And so we built this house. I have no rent, no mortgage. It was all paid for as we built it, and it took over a year to build. And I have a video collage of the build of the house that you can see over here. But if I were trying to rent this house, this size house and yard, it would cost anywhere from $700 to $1,500 a month. In LA, my mortgage was $1,600 a month, and I had a quarter of the land that I have in this house. So, but you can see that if you were to rent small place, if I were to rent a small house instead, I would probably spend around $400 a month. But $500 a month versus $1,600 a month mortgage, well, that's a big savings of over two-thirds, 60%. So let's talk about some other expenses. In Los Angeles and even Chicago, my monthly water, power, garbage bill, when Los Angeles was all combined together, was over $475. Stay away, fly. $75 of it was for solar, and the other 400 was for water and garbage. In Los Angeles, water is very expensive. In Thailand, we built a well. So I don't use city water. I have a well 60 meters deep. It cost $1,000 to dig it, and it took 2 days just for them to hit the better water. So my garbage here, 200 baht a year, $7. And the house was using about, with air conditioning, only in the bedroom, is 4,000 baht a month on average. And that's with 4 people living in the house with hot water showers, multiple water pumps, and the air conditioner running about 12 hours a day, and fans seem to be running 24/7 around here. Last month we moved to solar, so I won't know how much my electricity bill will drop after that. But going from $400 a month to 4,000 baht a month, or $125 a month, is a huge savings. I'm saving almost 75% on my bet. And how about food? To feed a family of 3 in America, and we were shopping cheap for the last few years, knowing that we were planning on moving to town, so we really worked on savings. We spent a lot of time shopping at the 99-cent store, and still our budget was about $500 a month for groceries and household supplies. In Thailand, for the same food and household supplies, about $400 a month. It really wasn't that big a savings because we didn't change our eating habits that much moving here. We still bought many of the same foods. Chicken is a little less expensive here, but cheese is more expensive, so it offsets it. And I like cheese. Vegetables are less expensive here. Fruit is a little less expensive depending on what fruit you're buying. If you want strawberries, grapes, cherries, your Western fruits, they will cost you more. If you want Thai fruits, they will cost you less. Some other things that were different. Travel. My wife and I, we love to travel. We have done many road trips in America. And usually when we do road trips, we would stay in a Motel 6 if we were just looking for a place to sleep for the night, or a Courtyard by Marriott or Holiday Inn because they offer the breakfast in the morning. And those would cost anywhere between $700 and $200 a night. To stay in a same type of hotel in Thailand is going to cost around 1,500 baht, or about $50 a night. We stayed at a place in Krabi, and even that, which was a 4-star hotel with a swimming pool, full buffet breakfast included, was only 2,000 baht a night, which was only $75. So still a great deal, and that was a very high end. We would never, to get that same type of experience in America, you would spend $400 or $500 a night in most cities. And if you were in a tourist city like San Francisco, $600, $700 a night for something comparable, if you could find a place with a swimming pool. And of course, San Francisco was kind of cold at night to go swimming. Boy, that fly is annoying. Let's talk about some other expenses. Home internet. In America, I had Time Warner Roadrunner service, cable modem, 20 megabits down, 10 megabits up, and it was $65 a month. In Thailand, I have TOT fiber with 100 megabits down, 800 megabits up. It's 1,200 baht a month. It's only $40. So I'm saving 25 bucks, and I'm getting 5 times faster speed. Let's talk about cell phone service. And my cell phone in America was T-Mobile. I had their T-Mobile's unlimited plan, $65 a month. Unlimited talk, text, and data. In Thailand, I have DTech, and it has unlimited data, 200 minutes, 200 text, and that's 650 baht a month, or about $22. I make about 99% of all my calls and text via Line app, so I don't really ever use my minutes or texting. The only person I would ever call is my wife. If I can't get her online, I call her on her cell phone, and then she just calls me back. And in Thailand, your minutes only decrease for your outgoing calls, not your incoming. So when somebody calls you, it does not go against your minutes. In America, that's not the case. Health insurance. So let's talk about what my costs were. In America and California, I had the California Silver under the Affordable Care Act, which gave me a $10,000 deductible. I don't even remember what the coverage was, but it was over $6,000 a year. Now, for the same amount of coverage, for the same coverage in Thailand with a zero deductible, my rate is 54,000 baht a month, or about $1,750. So health insurance is much cheaper here. How about auto insurance? Now in America, I had one car, and I drove a 2008 Honda Fit until we moved. And that I had the 5100 coverage on it, full coverage with a $500 deductible, and my policy was over $1,200 a year. And I was a perfect driver with no claims against my insurance or no points, and I was still paying over $1,000 a year. But California car insurance is very expensive. Here in Thailand, I have my Toyota Revo truck, and their policy for that is $750 for the year, zero deductible. Our 2007 Mitsubishi Atrage, which is my oldest vehicle here, 9,000 baht a year, zero deductible. And our newest vehicle, the MG HZ, I believe is the exact model, the dealership pays for your insurance for the first year with a $0 deductible. So that's something they do here that they don't do in America. So I have no idea how much insurance will be next year on that car. Now you have an idea of what my basic costs are. Let's talk about what my lifestyle is. I travel often. Well, pre this worldwide illness, we traveled all over town. Driven top to bottom, left to right, as far down as right to the Malaysian border, as far over to the Cambodian border, as far up to the Laos border, and as far to the left or the west as the Myanmar, Burma border. So I have seen almost all of Thailand now, and it's been great. We've traveled back to America. We've been to Japan. So we love to do traveling. Now, if you are coming over here and people say, oh, I can live on $1,000 a month, you're not traveling anymore. You're not owning a vehicle. Maybe you're on a motorcycle. You're going to be walking or taking public transit most places. You're going to be living in a bubble area. Whether if you say, oh, I'm going to live in Pattaya, you're going to be living in Pattaya. It'll be very rare that you leave Pattaya to go somewhere else because it's going to be outside of your budget. You're going to be renting a small home or an apartment with shared walls, and it's not going to be that big. Clothing, entertainment, vacations, they're not at all included in these people who say, I can live off $1,000 a month. It's just not possible. Just start adding up how much your food is. If you have internet, you have to have electricity. Most people have a cell phone. You're already over $700 a month. Okay, so think if you wanted to go out fancy, if you were to fancy a meal like an Applebee's bourbon steak with an Oreo shake and some whipped cream, living fancy like that, that would be about the most expensive thing you could afford on $1,000 a month budget here. And you'd be doing that once a month maybe. It would be similar to if you were to go to a Hooters or any other Western style restaurant here. That's going to run you $20 to $30 for a dinner for two. 1,200 baht, 1,500 baht would not be out of the norm for two people for Western food. You can then, of course, go to Thai style food and get out of there for much less, 200 baht, 300 baht for two people very easily. Thai food is much cheaper. But if you don't want to eat Thai food all the time, because you would eat Thai food at home, when you go out, what do you eat? Thai food again. You get tired of it, especially as a Westerner. So taking all those expenses into consideration, let's do some simple mathematics. You'll take your monthly budget, whatever it is, whatever you think you want, that you say you can live off of. If for me, I'm saying for 1,000, if I were to say it's just my wife and we lived a very basic lifestyle without the travel, $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year. Certainly not a lot of money, but it's almost minimum wage in California at this point. $15 is the minimum wage in California, so that puts you $32,000. So you're not far away from that. So $16 an hour, $17 an hour on a full-time job is what you need to live off of. Looking at it like that. So your monthly bills, say $3,000. Multiply that by 12 months, it's 36,000. That's your yearly cost. Multiply that by 30 years, which is about how many years you plan to be living retired. That's over $1 million that you would need to have saved if you had $0 more coming in. And of course, if you had $1 million in the bank, you would be earning interest on that money, and you could take that out. And there are some people say that if you had $1 million saved, you could take out 4% annually, or $40,000, and you could live off that $40,000, which would be more than enough to cover your $36,000 that you're living off of. And that's very doable. $4,000 a month is a very nice salary to live off here in Thailand. You would be able to afford many things. A nice place to live, some vacations, that would all be great. But still, you're still holding off on that $1 million. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know how much you need to retire, and you want to retire at age 50, that's what my idea was, because that's when you can get your retirement visa, and you have zero more income. That is the formula. You take your monthly bills, multiply it by 12. Multiply that by how many years you expect to live. So if you were 65 and you hope to get to 85, maybe 90, then maybe 90, so 25. So you'd be taking your 36,000 times 25 years. And if I grab my calculator and I do 36,000 times 25 years, $900,000. If you only plan to live 20 years, well, that's 720,000. So people say, well, how can you do that? That's what you need. It's that simple. If you have only $100,000 and you plan to retire off that, how many years can you live off of $100,000? Do the math. If you say I could live off of $1,000 a month and you have 100,000, that would leave you with 100 months. 100 months divided by 12 months in a year gives you 8.3 years. That's all you could live off of then. 8.3 years. So obviously $100,000 is not enough to live off of. If you had $200,000, you would go 16 years on $1,000 a month budget. But you have planned for zero emergencies. You've had planned for nothing. You better just hope that your life ends up perfect. Now, if you have other income, a pension, government assistance, passive income like I have, well, obviously your numbers will change. So I hope you found this video informative, and hope that it made more sense to the previous video that I made, which did not talk about my monthly expenses, but more on the mathematics of it. But that is the formula. I will say it again for anybody. How much you plan to spend every month, times the number of months, times the number of years, equals how much you have to have saved. Months times years times your monthly bills. You could do it any way you want to. The multiplication is always the same. 30 times 12 times your monthly expense, or your 12 months times your monthly expense times the number of years. Mathematics don't lie. Numbers don't lie. Number, x times x times x. That is it. So, this has been Ross and Young. Check out my other videos. And Jeremy, thank you for letting me update this video on your channel.